Hey class, this is Miss Hollabaugh. We're going to work on our properties assignment for tonight. Um, you had three properties of addition, and then you had four for multiplication. We put those in your journals. Remember, you can use your journals to help you with your workbook page in case you get confused. Commutative is where the numbers can move around. Remember, commute means to move. So that's the example of 2 plus 3 is equal to 3 plus 2. Same thing for multiplication. I could say 5 times 4 is equal to 4 times 5. So that is your commutative property. Associative property, remember I told you who you associate with would be like your group of friends. So associative property is your grouping property. In this property, you would have three or more numbers being added together or multiplied together, and you would just keep them in the same order. 2 times 3 times 4 is equal to 2 times 3 times 4, and the only thing you would change, like in this one I grouped 2 and 3, so in this one I'm going to group the 3 with 4, and the same thing with addition. That is your associative property. The identities were pretty simple. For identity, the number is going to stay the same. So for addition, that means you're adding 0 to it, and then for multiplication, that means you multiply it times 1. Now the one that was a little more confusing for everybody today was the distributive property. Distributive is when we just kind of move things around a little bit differently. So if I said 5 times 3 plus 8, I'm going to redistribute this where I'm going to do 5 times the 3, then I'm going to use my plus sign, and then I'm also going to multiply the 5 times the 8. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 5 times 8 is 40, so 15 plus 40 is 55. So that is the distributive property. When you take it and you break it down by using the add-ins, multiplying both add-ins by that first factor, getting your products, and then adding the results. You can also, sometimes they may give you a problem where it's 4 times 23. They don't have it broken down. In this case, you would break it down. Two numbers that would be easy to do in your head that equal 23 when you add them. I'm going to break it down to 20 plus 3. So that means I'm going to do 4 times 20 plus 3. To make my problem, I'm going to do 4 times 20 and then 4 times 3. So 4 times 20, then use your symbol, plus 4 times 3. 4 times 20 is 80, plus 4 times 3 is 12, and then 80 plus 12 is 92. So that is your distributive property. From here, we're going to look at your workbook page. For homework, you had to do page 21 and 22. 21 was done for you, but I'll go through the process so you understand what they did. On number 1, you have 6 times 89. Now what they chose to do this time is they said, well, 89 is close to 90, so I'm going to break it down to 90 minus 1. Then that's okay. You can use addition or subtraction. And you're going to multiply both of those by 6. So I'm going to do 6 times 90. And instead of plus, I'm going to use the minus sign. And then I'm going to do 6 times 1. 6 times 9 is 54. Drop that 0 down. Minus 6 times 1 is 6. So when I subtract that, I'll get 534. This is not the only way to do this. You can still use the distributive properties in different ways. You might choose to break it down as 80 plus 9. You'll still get the same answer. So I can do 6 times 80 plus 6 times 9. 6 times 8 is 48. Drop your 0. 6 times 9 is 54, and then when I add that together, I will still get 534. So it doesn't matter how you break it down, just that you break it down to where it equals 89. All right, look at number 2. Number 2 is addition. I'm not going to do the exact one for number 2, but I'll do one similar to it. We have, let's say we did 23 plus 45 plus 7, okay? And then have 45, let's say we have it set up like this. To work this out in my head might be a little bit difficult, but I can use the commutative property where I move the numbers around to make it easier to do in my head. I can look at this and see that 3 and 7 makes a 10. So I'm going to switch the 45 and the 23 around. So I'm going to make it 45 plus 23 plus 7. Now, instead of having to work all that out, I can just in my head say 23 plus 7 is 30, and then 45 plus 30 would give me 75. That made it simple, so I use that commutative property. So think about that when looking at number 2. An example for number 3, you had 5 times 23 times 2. I'll give you a similar type of problem. Let's do 2 times 31 times 5. Again, I'm looking for something that can make a 10 or something that I can do easily in my head. I can do the 2 and the 5 together. Because of the commutative property, I can move all this around. So I'm going to switch the 5 and the 31. So 2 times 5 times 31. Now I can think 2 times 5 is 10, and 10 times 31, well, the rule for 10 is you keep the number, and then you just put a 0 behind it. So the answer will be 310. Now think about that when you're trying to work number 3. Remember, you can pause this video at any time, so if you want to take it step by step and then try each one. Number 4 is that distributive property. That's where you want to break down that 51 into 2 numbers that you can multiply by 8. You can go back and rewind the video and look at the beginning to kind of see that one again. 5, you're adding 4 numbers together, one of them being a 0. So you can look for something where you can make a 10 and try to move the numbers around to get that together. 6 is a distributive property with a larger number. So I can show you an example with a larger number. Let's say we did 3 times 204. Okay, I can break 204 into 2 simple numbers to use. 200 plus 4. Then I would multiply that times 3. 3 times 200 plus 3 times 4. 3 times 2 is 6. Bring down your 2 zeros. That gets you 600. And then 3 times 4 is 12. And then I can just add 600 plus 12 to be 612. That makes it much simpler than trying to do 3 times 204, working it all out. 7 and 8, you don't have to work them out. All they're wanting you to do is find the missing number, fill it in, and tell me which property helped you figure out what the missing number was. If they were in a different order, you could call that would be your commutative property. If you kept them in the same order but the parentheses were different, that would be your associative. If they redistributed differently, you're looking at distributive property. So that's all you have to do on 7 and 8. 9 and 10 is basically just like what we did on 1 through 6, except it is a word problem. So you need to read through it and decide what you want to do to try to solve it. You can use any property you want. You decide how you want to do that. If you get completely stuck, you can put a question mark on it, and I will try to go over it with you tomorrow.
And then you have your lesson check and your spiral review. Just review some 4th grade skills, and I just kind of check that to make sure that you're on target for where we're going. So if you have any questions, remember, if you need extra help, just let me know tomorrow when we do our small group review, and I will work with you on any of the ones that you had trouble with. So good luck, and I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, study guide is due tomorrow as well.